Upgrades. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review brought to you from the Toronto Film Festival. This film here is called The End We Start From. Here's a quick synopsis. After an ecological crisis, a new mother and her baby abandon their home in flooded London and flee northward. And this is directed by Mahalia Belo. It stars Jodie Comer and Catherine Waterston and Benedict Cumberbatch in a very small role here. I was intrigued by the premise of this film about a flood taking place and this family having to escape this flood. This is the equivalent of watching one of the big major ecological thrillers like 2012 or the day after, those type of films, but on a smaller scale and a more realistic issue here. As we're introduced to Jodie's character, we see that she's pregnant at home, and we're seeing the flooding starting to take place. As she's trying to put up little things, we hear the rain in the background, and it's like it's raining for days and days and days at a time. And she's trying her best to contain the water while also going into labor. Once she has the baby and their house is completely destroyed by the flooding, the story then escalates to the entire of London being underwater because of these floods, and people need to escape to higher ground. There we meet her significant other, and they decide to go, who's played by Joel Fry, and they go to his parents' house. His dad, played by Mark Strong in this movie, in a very small role, because the parents' role is extremely small in this film, but I really, really enjoyed it. But when they go to their parents' house and having to escape their home, we see the panic of the community of London as they're attempting to escape and go to these other villages, and these other villages denying people entry because, one, they don't have the resources, two, they don't want to be flooded with too many people, as these communities they're now going to are on higher ground, so they're not affected by the flooding and the raining at all. This is a drama more than anything else, with intriguing, thrilling moments. But in the end, this is a drama about survival and what you're willing to do to not only help your marriage survive, but help save your child, but just the pursuit of human life in general. It was a film years ago called Children of Men that this film is very reminiscent in the way that it moves. Not necessarily comparing the plots together, but that's how the film moves and how the protagonists in the movie also move. Miss Comer here as the mother here, which I don't think they ever really say her name in this movie, which is very odd also. as we see everything she's willing to do with her child, we see the deterioration of her marriage as we would expect when you have these type of world crises, that people just revert back to their primal settings. And we see tragic events happen because of this. And because of this, we see how it affects her marriage. We see how it affects her life in general, and how she's then left with attempting to figure this out in this world with just her and her son. As we see what happens with shelters, little camps they put in place to actually attempt to protect people, but yet not having enough resources for everyone to be safe, and what people are willing to do to get those resources. All of that is an amazing setup. But again, here, the crux of it is between Jodie and Catherine, who Catherine is a mom that Jodie meets at one of the shelters. And both of them have small kids. And we see after their compound is attacked, we see exactly what happens in the pursuit that they go through to make sure they can save their children, but also live a better life than what's ever available at that time. The only issue that a lot of people may have with this film is not enough is told to us exactly what's going on in London. We also don't necessarily know why it happened. So a lot of people, I think that could affect you being intrigued by the film, because that element is not explored. But to me, that's it. That not exploring that element is actually why this movie is really good, because it just plays in the background as something that, yeah, this happened and there's nothing we can do about it. But this did happen. this is the ramifications of this happening. And now these people are having to scramble and try to survive in a world where they don't have these instincts. And if you don't have these instincts, you're just going to, again, revert back to your primal settings, which is do whatever you have to do to survive. But then the motherly instincts of Jodie and Catherine in this film of doing whatever they have to do to protect their children is a thread that goes from the beginning of the film all the way to the end of the film. And it is miraculous the way it is done here. Now, it's not a lot of action in this movie. That's why it's a drama. It's questionable decisions made by Jodie's character in this film that, unless you have a full understanding of what it means to want to make sure your family stays together, you will never understand. At times in these films, it feels like the character leaves safe environments to still go off to find home. But that's the whole point of the pursuit of this movie, is finding home. And that's what makes the end from where we start from so good, is that pursuit alone is amazing. And again, it's a good performance here. Jodie's on screen as the lead most of the time by herself. A lot of times it's just shots with her and her child, her and this little infant baby as they're attempting to go across the world. But it's an awesome setup. It's something that you have to see to fully grasp and understand. Anything else, it would be a complete spoiler for me to give away. And that's what I'm trying my best not to do here. But you're sticking around in this film to find out, one, why did this disaster take place? Two, how is she going to survive this disaster? And three, will she ever stop the pursuit of making sure that her family stays together? All three of those elements run deep in this film, and all of them are done amazingly well. The direction of this film is great. Not much of a score here, not much that's going to intrigue you with the score of it, but what it is the setup of this world, this new place. Every time we see this mother move along the country into new environments, into new safe settings, into new horrible settings, the shots help submerge the audience into understand the desperate need that this mother is going through to attempt to save her family. And that's what the crux of this film that makes it so entertaining, is that you're automatically transported into her life and her world. And the director does an amazing job of just not letting you escape that world. You even feel it when she needs to breathe, when she needs to release. It's a scene in this film, it's not spoiler, but it's a scene in this film where she's just playing peekaboo with her son. And as she's doing it, and peekaboo's a game, you put it up, down, put it down, and she breaks. As once she puts it up one time and she completely breaks. And you, as an audience, you completely feel it because you understand everything that she's going through to make sure her child is safe and to make sure she get her family back together. It is a scene that echoes throughout the entire film. And even when you go back after that scene and you go back to thinking about things that happened prior to that scene, you're like, this makes sense. Why she's this way, why she's pursuing this so deeply. It's an emotional roller coaster of a film that sets up a journey of this woman pursuing everything to save her family. That's the best way to put it. But the end from where we start from, brought to you by the Toronto Film Festival. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give this film an 8.5 out of 10. This is a very realistic depiction of what can happen in this world. And I think for a lot of people, this can be portrayed as a horror movie. It does not move like a horror movie, but the settings of this world is so horrific of what could happen if something like this happened and you got rain and you get floods, and how people have to survive and what they have to do to survive in these atmospheres is gut-wrenching to think about. And this movie puts you directly in the center of it and makes you think about it. And that's what makes this so entertaining. But check it out when it drops. Let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review brought to you from the Toronto Film Festival. Peace, people.